Wahalathanthri, and I'm here with my 31st question set from the DBMS question series. So let's see what are the questions we have to answer regarding this question set. The bill book system is used to keep information on the bills of the shoe store called Hourly Shoe Center. This method is used for a long time, but using this method will embarrass the shop owner and employees. The accountant working in this shop pointed out to the shop owner the disadvantages of the bill book system. Advantages pointed out were the loss of bill books, damage to bill books, and the need for separate space for storing bill books. Because of these factors, the store owner realizes that the bill book system is difficult to use and decides to use a computer software. So over here, what happens is, so now when we are in a modern world, we should use modern technologies. So this shoe store called Hourly Shoe Center uses the old bill book system. So because of this reason, lots of disadvantages happen like loss of bill books, damage to bill books, and a need for separate space for storing bill books. So because of this reason, he's going to tell a computer software company to develop a software to store all the bill book system data. So the software was developed by AI Soft, a software development company. You work as a senior software engineer at this company. You and your team are tasked with creating the database of this software. Create the required ER diagram for that. To do this, follow the instructions below. Name the database as Hourly Shoe Center. Right, so now the database name will become Hourly Shoe Center. So now we are going to create this database using the ER diagram. So create a user table for storing information of all the customers and all the suppliers in the store as shown below. Now we have to create the user table to store all the customer and supplier details. So now considering this table, the user ID will become the primary key. So to find a customer or supplier uniquely, this user ID will become very useful. So now we have to create this table with these specific column names, the data types, and lengths. So now let's begin to create this. I'll begin by opening my MySQL workbench, go to File, and I'll create a new model. Now I'll double click on this MyDB MySQL schema, and now I'll rename it as Hourly Shoe Center. Now I'll rename the references, okay, and now I'll add a diagram. Now this is my ER diagram designing area, so now I'll begin to create the table. First, I will insert the table over here. Double click, and now I'll give a name for the table as user. Now let's begin to add our column names. So first I'll give our primary key, user ID, auto increment, and primary key. Next we have to give the users first name and then the last name, contact number, and status. So we have to give them according to the specific lengths. So first I'll give the first name, and then I'll give the user's last name. Next, I'll give the user's contact details. So over here in our question, they have told us to give contact number. So for that, I'll give a water 10 because a contact number contains only 10 integers. And next, I'll give the status. So we give the status to identify whether a user is available or not. So for this, I'll give an int. Now our user table is done. So in this method, we have to create the rest of our tables. So let's move on to our next instruction. Next, we have to create the gender table, the user type table, the system login table, address table, And then we have to create the city table. So likewise, we have to create these tables. So if we discuss about the gender table, the primary key will become the gender ID. And we have to give it auto increment. For the gender name, we should give a water 10. Next, for our user type table, we should make the primary key as user type ID. And next column will become user type name with a water 45. So likewise, we have to create the system login table. We have to give the login ID as the primary key, the username, and password. So next, we have to create the address table. And we have to give columns like address ID, number, street 1 and street 2. And last but not least, we have to create the city table. So we have to give the primary key for that table as city ID. And our next column will become city name. So let's begin to create the rest of our tables. So I'll insert a table over here. And next I'll give our table name as gender. So the primary key of this table will become gender ID. I'll also give an auto increment for it. And our next column will become the gender name. And I'll give the length for it as 10. Right, now our gender table is complete. So likewise, I'll create the rest of our tables. So likewise, I have created all the tables. So y'all can see that I have added primary keys for everything. So this is how we are going to create the database and the tables for this question set. So that's it for this question set. So before I'll conclude, I will forward engineer this database. Next, 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 and now I'll execute it. Close. Now our database has been forward engineered. Let's go to our HighDSQL software, disconnect it, and let's again give our password. Right, and now I'll open it once again. Now let's see whether our database has been created. Okay, so now our database has been successfully created. Now y'all can see over here, all the tables has been created. So that's it for this question set. So I hope you understood what I explained. So thank you everyone for watching. I really appreciate it. So I'll be back with a new video. So until then, have a nice day and bye.